and welcome to Earth911's Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, your host, and we are back to have another conversation with a change maker working to accelerate the transition to a sustainable, carbon-neutral society. In fact, we're going to talk to two change makers today. If we're going to turn the economy towards sustainable practices, the nation's 32.5 million small businesses need to help lead the way. These firms, which account for 99% of the companies in the United States, according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, need access to information, sustainable strategies, learning materials, and mentoring to accelerate the adoption of environmentally responsible business practices. If they do make the turn, small business can take most of their customers forward into low-carbon lifestyles because they're so ubiquitous in our lives. Our guests today are Katelyn-Armbruster, who is Program Manager for the Rob and Melani Walton Sustainability Service at Arizona State University, and alicia-marseille, Interim Deputy Director of the program. They lead Sustainable Earth, a Wells Fargo Bank-backed program that offers free coursework and credentials programs for small business. For example, a small business owner or employee can take free courses on understanding the fundamentals of sustainable supply chains or an introduction to environmental, social, and governance reporting, also known as ESG. Arizona State has been a pioneer in online learning, bringing advanced educational experiences to students globally. For instance, every Starbucks employee can earn a degree for free through ASU. Sustainable Earth is also launching its first Small Business Sustainability Awards program, and entries can be made through their site until the end of June. You can learn more about Sustainable Earth at sustainable-earth.org. That's sustainable-earth.org. Welcome to the show, Katelyn and Alicia. How are you today?
Thank you. Thanks for having us. I'm excited.
Thank you, Katelyn. In order to identify your voice, that's Katelyn. How about you, Alicia? How are you today?
Yeah, good morning, Mitch. Thank you for having us. And this is an exciting topic, to say the least, and it's definitely one that you're seeing a growing curiosity around as well.
Well, sustainable practices are emerging at the top and the bottom of the economy. What are the unique challenges faced by smaller companies?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mitch. I think something to think about is that the pressure that both large corporations and small businesses are both facing are related to pressures from consumers.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing a significant demand in consumers, more and more so in younger demographics, starting with millennials all the way to Gen Z, where there's a pretty high percentage of consumers that are interested in paying more for sustainable options. And then all the way down to Gen Z, where the expectation is that is there. And so some of the challenges smaller companies have is understanding how to operationalize sustainability. What are the opportunities, and really understanding and navigating those challenges and being able to preempt them, as well as facing some of the perceived myths that come with taking that leap into more sustainable practices.
Well, there's certainly plenty of myths out there that we have to tackle. How did Sustainable Earth get started? Was it a project that ASU conceived, that the Walton team conceived, or Wells Fargo came to you and asked about
it? It's one that Wells Fargo and Arizona State University co-developed. And the idea was, how do we make sustainability become more practical? How do we translate some of that knowledge so it is much easier to utilize and integrate into our daily lives and our small businesses?
So tell us a little about what Sustainable Earth offers for small business.
Sure. Yeah. Well, a lot of different things. Main thing, which you had already mentioned, is the small business courses, which is a great resource. We also have case studies that are coming up on our site this summer that are provided to us by one of our contributing partners, Greenlight Solutions. And those are examples of small businesses taking on sustainability practices with the help of students, actually. So we have some case studies there as well. We have articles, we have videos, and we have what you also mentioned, the Small Business Awards for Sustainability. So we're excited to be launching that this summer for the very first time. And really what the result of that will be is once we have winners picked out, we will be providing what they have submitted either through a video, a podcast, or a blog post on our website, and we'll be slowly providing, week by week, these examples of how small businesses are taking on sustainability practices. So, using those as examples for other businesses to aspire to.
So let's talk a little about the myths that you address in that programming and all that content. Are small businesses concerned that being green is less profitable? And what is your response if they do have that concern?
Mitch, there is absolutely a lot of concerns related to how sustainability impacts profitability for small businesses. And one of the things that I think we can start with is just helping them to think about the low-hanging fruit, for lack of a better technical term there, as it relates to how they can start to take small steps to become more sustainable. That could be related to their operations, other ways to educate their employees or consumers, related to water conservation, as simple as turning off the water while washing hands, right? And that might sound really small and insignificant, but if you are a restaurant or with a lot of foot traffic on an annual basis, or a large manufacturing facility with a lot of employees, that translates to a significant amount of water over X amount of people, X amount of days over a year, right? And so helping to understand the impact that small actions can take, and that compounding effect, all the way to understanding, how can they utilize their relationships with suppliers or develop new relationships with suppliers that have more sustainability related interests as it relates to where products come from, how are they made, who makes them, what type of materials and resources are utilized. And then also thinking about what happens when products leave if it's a product-based business, what happens when products leave their operations? Are they recycled? What is the life cycle of it? And so a lot of it just stems from education and helping small businesses to understand where they are. And in fact, a lot of the challenges that specific businesses face in specific industries are actually similar. And, how can they seek out the resources to attain the information education on what are the small things that they can do immediately? And then how do they start to think about long-term sustainability planning across their operations and suppliers?
I have an analogous experience at Earth911 talking to consumers about how to be more sustainable. And those small steps are incredibly impactful if you really do add them up. When you talk with business people, you mentioned a couple of different dimensions of the challenge. One was internal in reducing waste generally. The other was external in talking to customers. Do you find that the fact that shoppers are walking through the door at small businesses and asking for sustainability is starting to get those businesses to think about this problem, or are they thinking of it as a way to start to differentiate themselves with their customers?
Yes, so that's a great question. I think some of it depends on demographics. Younger demographics might not even end up in your business location should that information not be available online prior to them coming. And the differentiation is absolutely key and essential. Utilizing that in your marketing, in your advertising, not just for market differentiation purposes, but that's also ultimately will start to attract or deter customers.
So do you have content about how to communicate sustainability effectively and particularly to avoid greenwashing?
That's absolutely. That's part of the evolution of the program. Katelyn has done a tremendous job, honestly, in the past 8 or 9 months since she's been with us at ASU in terms of really transitioning the website to be more user friendly. And so we are in the stages now of launching and developing lots of content. Marketing communications will be part of it.
So I hear what you're saying about more content all the time. The other thing that I wanted to ask about that you mentioned earlier is that the idea that consumers are willing to pay more for a green alternative. And that, is often described as the green premium. Do you think at this point that small business should be more motivated by its underlying sustainability or the potential to profit more? It may be the case that just being green as a secondary value after the price, performance, and availability of the product can be a deciding factor, but isn't always the deciding factor. What's the right advice for small business in terms of how to emphasize the benefits of sustainability and price their product or service?
Yeah, Mitch, I think a couple things you addressed in that question I'd like to answer. I think one of them is in relation to also the fact that businesses are making these changes not just because consumers are demanding it, but oftentimes they are aware of the climate issues their communities are facing and the necessity to make these changes, not just to maintain existing customers or attract new customers, but in fact, it is imperative in their community to make these changes.
That's a hard lesson to get across. What do you find is effective to get that small business person to pay attention to that opportunity?
Opportunity in terms of understanding the climate impacts?
To reduce the burden on their community. Sorry.
No, absolutely. And some of that depends where they live, right? Here in Maricopa County, one of the climate implications we feel most is heat.
Mm-hmm.
And, not that all business owners or consumers or, residents understand the full systemic implications of climate, but they're feeling components of it. Back east, you're in the Southeast, you're seeing the rise in hurricanes. And so I think people are seeing that the natural environment around them is changing. I think you're starting to also see a lot of media talking about it more. It's becoming more common in various media outlets to discuss and articulate it. And the other thing I think you're starting to read a lot more about that you mentioned earlier, Mitch, is related to greenwashing and how a lot of small businesses are also starting to realize that in charging a premium or increasing their prices to account for the sustainability and maintain profitability, they have to avoid greenwashing and really try to find ways to articulate their sustainability practices and the outcomes and impact of that as well. So people understand what they're paying for.
Do you find that the newer entrepreneurs, people who are just starting out their business, are more focused on environmental responsibility?
Yes, I think you're starting to see a lot of younger demographics that are thinking about the social, economic, and environmental components related to sustainability. Some might focus in one area more than the other, if you will, but I definitely think you're starting to see that. And you're also starting to see a lot of innovation ecosystems targeting these areas, programs targeting these areas. You're starting to see more funders in these areas. So absolutely.
So how does Sustainable Earth measure your progress and success? What are your goals over the next decade, and how are you doing on getting to those goals? I know you're just starting out, by the way.
Yeah, I can answer that. A few things. We are just, I feel like, getting started, and there's still such a long way to go. But we obviously want to continue to build out, our content and grow from what is working, what is most, clicked on, and what people are looking for the most. So I think part of that is actually having conversations with small businesses and with educators, because that's another one of our focus audience groups for us. We'd like to see more engagement. So, success for us is inspiring action, and how can we track that and see what's working on our site to do that? So we have things like challenges that our users can sign up for. We're hoping to share more stories to inspire action based on real projects and people implementing their own strategies that have worked for them. So I think it's just a combination of continuing to build and maintain what's working to inspire action.
I think it's so important that people share their experience so that we can start to learn from one another. That's the only way to rapidly move to a new environment. What kind of challenges can somebody sign up for?
Yeah, we just got started with challenges this past April with Earth Month. We had the idea, why don't we start crafting challenges like going plastic free for a week to challenge yourself on, really realizing how much plastic is in your daily, consumption patterns, what you're eating, what you're buying, what you're wearing. Yep. We have a food waste challenge. So, food waste is a big contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. And how can we be more cognizant of the purchases we make, what we're putting in our refrigerator, and, what we're throwing out of the refrigerator also. So there's food waste. We have a new one coming out for plant-based eating. So can you challenge yourself to eat a plant-based diet and see what that's all about, and encourage our users to get out into their communities and find who are those, plant-based restaurants or stores, and learn more about that. So those are a few examples, and we hope to grow those as well.
That's great to hear. I want to talk more about the Small Business Sustainability Awards, but first we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. And we're back. We're talking with Katelyn-Armbruster and Alicia-Marseille. They are with the Rob and Melani Walton Sustainability Service at Arizona State University, and they lead the Sustainable Earth program. So you're doing as far as I can tell, is the first Small Business Sustainability Awards program. Is it open to businesses all over the country? And what are the judges going to be looking for in the 15 companies winning practices?
Yeah, it is open to anyone operating a business within the U.S. That is considered a small business, so under 500 employees is our metric for that. So any industry, including anything from healthcare to food and beverage, logistics, hospitality. And what we're looking for is, we want it to be fair with where people where small businesses are on their sustainability, journey, I guess, right? So there might be small businesses that are sustainability first in thinking. Their fabric of the business, it might have sustainability first, right? But there's also businesses that, might not have that approach and are interested in building more sustainable practices. So those are our first two categories, right? Those that are sustainability first, that what we're calling, and those that are just introducing sustainability practices into their business to become more sustainable. And we have a third category, which we're looking for, which is individuals within small businesses that are championing sustainability practices. So we know that there are different ways sustainability can make its way into small businesses, and how can we recognize and, like we explained before, share stories of the variety of ways sustainability is being weaved through small business.
So entrants can submit an entry through the end of June 2022, if you're listening to this after that. When are the awards going to be announced?
Right. So the applications do close July 1st, and we hope to be announcing award winners definitely by the end of July. And what's really neat about this application is we're not really asking for a ton of written up work. We're asking for the small businesses to provide their story in a media format, either a short video or a short podcast, like less than 5 minutes, or even a blog post with maybe photos, so you can tell your own story, and we will be providing those stories on our site throughout the year. So we are announcing at the end of July, but we'll be sharing these stories throughout the year.
Now, a lot of awards programs have gala events to announce it. How are you announcing this? And I partially ask because I would like us to avoid having a bunch of people travel to an event rather than to participate remotely. What's the promotional experience around the awards announcement?
That's a good question. This is the first time we're doing this award. We don't plan to have an in-person event, and we definitely will be making our announcements online through different ways. But I don't know how much more I can say about that, other than we're excited to be announcing them, and I'm sure we'll find a really neat way to make those announcements for all of our winners. Letting them know personally, but then finding great ways to drip out those winners and give them their moment in spotlight, right, throughout the year.
Well, I think that's great that you're not going to bring a lot of people together, and that you're going to be using ongoing announcements or ongoing storytelling, because I think that's critical to getting this stuff to sink in. It's interesting that Wells Fargo is backing the Sustainable Earth program, and across the board, both the learning programs and the sustainability awards. Are they also going to be stepping up with forms of financing that are targeting small business, attempting to become more sustainable? What's their follow through on this support?
Yeah, Mitch, I don't know that I have all those answers or could represent where Wells Fargo is in regards to green finance and the financing mechanisms. But I do think that organizations and corporations like Wells Fargo realize that in order for them to achieve their sustainability goals, that it has to extend beyond their operations, and finding solutions for entities across their supply chain or value chain, if you will, and that includes small businesses and consumers alike.
Okay, fair enough. I will try to get them on the show to talk about what their goals are. Now, Sustainable Earth offers these 60 to 90-minute courses, and they come with micro-credentials. Can you explain what a micro-credential is? And how is it useful to the employee or to the small business?
Yeah, sure. Micro-credentials are, rather than, if you're looking at credentials in general, are smaller, right? Peaceable, and customizable too, which I think are great. Pieces of content, programs, small programs that you can complete and earn either a badge for or a credential that you can add to, your LinkedIn or resume, whatever you like to do with them. But they give you shorter, small form versions of larger concepts, and we do offer those in 60 to 90-minute increments with all of our courses. Where I think in general in education, they've become a lot more popular as sort of stepping stones along your professional path as you're jumping from place to place and needing to, upskill in certain areas. These micro credentials that we offer on our site are perfect for that.
Do you find that students are looking for those micro credentials? In other words, do they gravitate towards programs that will allow them to add that badge to a LinkedIn profile?
I think they're popular for just about anyone, not just students.
And students in the sense of participants in the program.
Right. Lifelong learners. I think many people are interested in adding these. They might not even. I think it can act as a way for those that are interested in sustainability, might not even be in small business and sustainability, but they're interested in learning more about it. I think it's good for those types of people. It's obviously good for those that are in business working on sustainability. I think there's a lot of different, users that we have come through taking our courses.
Well, I think, it's the definition of students is an interesting stop in the conversation, where we used to think of that as kids or children or students, and then you became an adult. But as you mentioned, lifelong learning is critical to continued success, and I think it's going to be the basis for the transition to the post-carbon economy. We're going to learn our way through it, as much of our conversation has been oriented around the informational problem that we all face. Now, you're also asking other organizations if they'd like to publish content on Sustainable Earth. What kinds of contributors are you looking for? And what do you do with regard to certifying the value of their content for the would-be student or lifelong learner?
Yeah, we're looking for a lot of different types of partners, but it all has to relate to who our core audience is. And again, like I mentioned, we're trying to learn more about who that exactly is, since we're still a little young as an organization, and we're learning how best we can serve, how best we can be providing the most effective information for those following us. But
so if somebody has some content that they would like to share with your audience, how do they get in touch with you and get involved?
Yeah, so you can follow us at or go to our website, sustainable-earth.org, and go to the About Us page. We have a section at the bottom of that page called Become a Contributor, Become a Contributing Partner. Yeah.
And so what kind of courses are you planning to offer in the future? Do you have an agenda that you're trying to fill out, or a curriculum, I guess would be the appropriate word?
I don't think we have a curriculum set to the T just now. Like I mentioned before, we're really looking to see who can benefit from the resources we provide. And within small businesses, I think what we're learning, or what I've learned, is that there's a large spectrum of what resources they need. Anything from like a micro enterprise to a larger on the end of small businesses. They need different things. So how can we provide a mix of courses and resources that speak to anyone on that small business spectrum? So we have that as our focus, is making sure that we can provide different courses, resources throughout that spectrum.
Well, it'll be fun to watch this space for those developments. How can our listeners learn more and sign up for a course?
Yeah, they can head to our site, sustainable-earth.org, and head to the Small Business Resources tab. Right at the top of the page is the first tab on our site. There's the courses, a little bit of information on micro-credentialing. There's some articles and case studies, and of course, the Small Business Awards.
Well, Katelyn and Alicia, I want to thank you for spending some time talking with us about Sustainable Earth today.
Thank you, Mish, for having us.
Thank you.
We've been talking with katelyn-armbruster and alicia-marseille. They are with the Rob and Melani Walton Sustainability Service at Arizona State University and lead the Sustainable Earth program. You can learn more, of course, about Sustainable Earth at sustainable-earth.org, sustainable-earth.org. We're going to be back with another innovator interview soon. In the meantime, I hope you'll take some time to share what we talked about today with your friends. Sustainable Earth is certainly a great venue for you as a small business person or as an employee of a small business to learn more about how to be sustainable, how to think about communicating your sustainability, and to expand your thinking and think about recalibrating your own life for a lower environmental impact. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, your host. We're going to be back very soon with another innovator interview. And in the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of one another, and let's all take care of this beautiful planet of ours. Have a green day.